Shouldn't have eaten too much, this is going to be hardcore. Kingsman the Golden Circle is the sequel to Kingsman the something or other, I can't really remember. And everyone loved the tits of that movie because it was a surprise hit of the year. And this one is not. Yeah, sorry. Directed by Matthew Vaughn again. He did the original Kingsman and he did X-Men First Class and Kick-Ass and Layer Cake. And so he's done some really cool movies with some visuals and shit. And this one is definitely one of them, pretty much up there. We get Eggsy back, we get Harry back, we get Merlin, and we get a whole bunch of new ones from the American department of Statesman, which I really think is quite funny because, you know, Kingdom, United Kingdom, and United States of America, Kingsman, Statesman. That was kind of funny. And also we get Halle Berry and Jeff Bridges and Julianne Moore in this one, and Julianne Moore's playing the baddie, and I really liked her, but they didn't really do much with her. So in this one, a Kingsman tryout dude from the first one who was like becoming a baddie at the end of the first one, and then he was like instrumental in destroying Kingsman completely with this drug cartel led by Julianne Moore called the Golden Circle. And then so what they do is they end up finding the Statesmen, which is the Americans, and yeah, that's pretty much it. The basics of the story, from what I gathered, is pretty much a drug users are people too kind of message. Are junkies worth saving? That kind of thing. Yeah. With the Statesman, there was like characters also had like code names and stuff. Like Channing Tatum was in it, and his nickname was Tequila. Jeff Bridges was the head of Statesman, and his name was Champagne. And Pedro Pascal his name was Whiskey. I thought that was kind of fun. There's a lot of fun stuff in here. With Julianne Moore, like her whole aesthetic in this movie is like 50s nostalgia, diners and donut places and music and wardrobe and everything like that. So it was really cool to see it. But she is like hiding away on a secret island. So she built this whole place. So it's like this lost, land of the lost kind of 50s diner, 50s street kind of pop culture thing with Coca-Cola in the middle of the jungle. It had kind of like a cool kind of visual to it. I like the dichotomy, big word, of like the clean 50s nuclear design style mixed up with like this foresty kind of stuff. I thought it was kind of cool. This movie, although, suffers from sequelitis, as in everything has to be bigger, has to be bolder, has to be louder, and it suffers for it a lot. I definitely did not enjoy this one as much as the first one. Case in point, the big scene that everyone loves is the church scene in the first one, with all that rad camera action movement and stuff like that, is pretty much, I think, used about 4 times in this movie in like action sequences. It kind of lost the specialness of the church scene in the first one because that camera work was supposed to be like a visual representation of like how crazy everyone was, that they were just like killing everybody and like they were intoxicated or some shit. It felt like it was fitting to what they were going through, but now it's just used that because everyone liked the way it looked, so now they just make everything like that and kind of like loses its point. I didn't really like that. The opening sequence was ridiculous. The first Kingsman went from Goldfinger, and into this one it went straight into The World Is Not Enough. For instance, there was a lot of gadgets, there's a lot of toys and stuff. The majority of the people would want that back in the James Bond movies, where for myself, I don't. I like what they were doing with the current ones, and this one is crazy enough to be able to go out there and do its thing. But I think this one was just a bit, it went too far over that edge. I mean, the first one had a bit of craziness to it, but it was fun. This is just ridiculous because they were trying to add so much. They ended up losing so much. You know what I mean? The only thing from the first Kingsman movie that I didn't like was the butt sex joke at the end. I thought that was kind of going for like a cheap laugh, like a literal cheap laugh. And that was the only thing I didn't like about it. And I was hoping that they wouldn't touch on that, but then they touched on it. But all sequels, they go too balls deep and try and do too much of what everyone liked in the first one. So they go, oh, they like that one, and then they must add it to it. And as a result in this one, I was kind of bored and I laughed a few times. There was some cool stuff. They just didn't know their limits, and it's unfortunate because I really wanted to love this movie because I loved the first one. But yeah, that's what it is. Kingsman the Golden Circle is fun, it's loud, it's boisterous, and it's a bit too much. And I compare it to the first one being Coca-Cola, and this one being when they introduced New Coke. And we can all see where that one's going. Thanks for watching. Next week I think will be Blade Runner 2049. I think so. I'm looking forward to that, purely to see how that guy can show everyone finally how terrible Ridley Scott actually is. So we will see next week. Okay, bye.